Okay, so the real question here is like, now we have Pacers Knicks.
Yeah.
And to me, Pacers Knicks is going to be an absolute bloodbath of a series. I think it goes 7. I have no idea which way it goes. I like they are able to press each other's buttons in terms of advantages in such interesting, specific ways that I am so interested to see what that looks like. The thing that we talked about in the Pacers, win over the Cavs, was the way that the Pacers just literally relentlessly attack your weaknesses in whatever you do. They are going to hammer it. Like, can the Knicks figure out answers to deal with that? Can the Knicks figure out answers defensively to be able to manage that? I think they'll be able to play at the pace. Like, I think that's going to be okay, but at least early on in the series. But can you continue that pace throughout the course of a series when your guys are playing 45 minutes a night and the Pacers guys are playing like 35 minutes a night because they're a little bit deeper? But then, like, on the other side, I don't know on the Pacers who is going to deal with Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Because the Nembhard minutes against Brunson have not been great traditionally. And like, do you have to use Naismith? Well, okay, if you're using Naismith, then that means you're using Nembhard on one of the bigger wings, and they're going to shoot over the top of Nembhard to some extent, even though he's a great defender and has done a really good job on that end. There are just so many ways that series interests me. I think it is such a genuinely great Eastern Conference Finals in terms of like what the product will be for basketball fans.
Yeah. And I was actually had this conversation over on Setting the Pace, and they are very fascinated to get your pick. So hopefully you give that to them tonight. I know you said 7, but they asked me if you had made your prediction yet. As we were talking through the matchups, I realized the Pacers are a team that can't do the traditional put our 4-man on Karl Anthony Towns and put our 5-man on Josh Hart, because they're going to want to hide, quote unquote, hide Tyrese Halliburton on Josh Hart. So they felt like we would, and they needed the size of Pascal Siakam to match up with OG Anunoby. So they can't put him on Karl Anthony Towns. So this was like very fascinating as we were talking through it, where you normally see teams do that with their 4-man on Cat. So now Cat's going to get a traditional center guarding him in terms of Miles Turner. I guess not traditional, but a center on him. Turner obviously stretches the floor, but like, so what does that look like for Karl Anthony Towns now playing against that, as opposed to what he, especially in the Pistons series? So it will just be interesting. And, like with Tyrese, Josh Hart is awesome on the offensive boards. Is Tyrese going to be able to keep him off the offensive boards every time a shot goes up, or is he going to go get 3 or 4 a game? And
the antithesis of that is, do the Knicks send Josh Hart to the boards enough, knowing that the Pacers are going to sprint the other way every single time?
Yep. That's a great point.
The chess match of this series is actually like genuinely amazing to me. I think it is such a cool like situation. And I completely agree with you. I almost wonder, and this is almost why, like, I think you probably have to have Nembhard on Brunson at the end of the day. I almost wonder if they put Halliburton on McHale.
I wonder, I thought about it.
Make McHale shoot over the top of you. And then they'll put, Siakam on Towns and Turner on Hart, and then just try and shut down the interior. Yeah. I think that's probably what you do at the end of the day. But then again, that involves Naismith not being able to guard Brunson, because like Nembhard is going to struggle to deal with OG's physicality. Yeah. I think as much as anything. I think it is a genuinely, it is such a cool series to me. Well, like it is such a cool series.
Here's the other thing is, okay, so if you have Halliburton on Bridges, then you're probably going to it's easier for Bridges to get matched up with Halliburton going the other way, which I think is probably the initial matchup on that end, because you probably do need OG on Siakam because he can take you into the post. If you put Halliburton on Hart as a defensive team with the Pacers, do you get more cross matches where you now get Hart on Halliburton? Do you think that that's favorable to you getting him instead of Bridges? Does he not navigate ball screens as well? Or, do you think you can attack him in a certain way that is easier or better than attacking Bridges? I don't like it just really, really interesting where a matchup here completely switches things over here, creates a different pressure point, as you mentioned, on this side of things. And I am a little bit nervous, Sam, in terms of the Knicks playing at the Pacers pace every single game. I think in general they will do it, but one game can swing a series. One quarter, one half can swing a series, especially when you get into the conference finals. The Knicks have to be on it. And I think that's why tonight was vital. They had to win tonight. They could not let Boston stretch this thing out to a game 7 on Monday night, have one day off, and then go play Wednesday in game 1 against Indiana. They needed to win tonight. They'll now get 4 days off to rest up and at least be full strength ready to go at the start of the series.
Totally agree with you on that. Like, they couldn't let this thing get long. No. They could not let this thing end up being a grinded out deal, especially after the Pistons series in 6, where it was like, oh, this thing was a real slugfest. And then you get into a 7-game series with the Celtics. I completely agree. And the fact they were able to do it while all of their starters only played 30 to 35 minutes, that was even more important. Me. That was so big.
Especially because the Pacers have only played 10 games in this play, right? They went 5 and they went 5. They've been chilling, and they play more guys in general anyway. And so it's so, I was looking at the Pacers stats the other day for the playoffs, and I think I saw this right. I think I'm remembering this right. They don't have a player. Yeah. They don't have a player averaging over 19 points per game in the playoffs. As good as Tyrese has been, he's at 17 and a half. Siakam's at 18, but they have 6 guys averaging double figures. And that's with McConnell and Toppin at 8.5 each. It's just, it's fascinating the way the ball moves for them and the player movement. And then you get the Knicks, who, yes, you get Mikal, you get OG games, you get a Deuce game, but really it's so much driven by Jalen and Karl Anthony Towns. I'm super excited for it. I truly, and I go back to my childhood seemed like every Saturday or Sunday afternoon, whatever it was Knicks Pacers. I feel like I just, it was the nostalgia of this series and this matchup is really, really cool for me and somebody my age. So really what this comes down to for me is the pace. Yes.
But in multiple directions, right? Can the Knicks consistently deal with the pace in transition in terms of making sure that they get the defensive matchups that they want?
So important.
Because what the Pacers are amazing at is going down the court and getting you cross-matched.
Yep.
That is what they want to do every single time. They want to sprint down the court, and they want to lock a bad defender on one side of the court and make sure that he ends up in a disadvantageous situation and be able to cross match him. Tyrese Halliburton is constantly going to be seeking out in transition Jalen Brunson on one side of the court and try to lock him on that side of the court and then force him into ball screen actions. They will try and attack the Brunson Towns pick and roll as much as they can. The Knicks' job is to avoid that by making sure that they get back on defense. And that's where the Hart thing, and frankly, Mitchell Robinson as well, attacking the offensive glass, that's where it gets really interesting to me is, do you decide to continue to just absolutely obliterate the offensive glass? Because I would understand that. That is such a huge part of what they have had success with, especially with Mitch and Hart, right? This is a team that was top half of the league in offensive rebounding, right? They do a really good job. But also, I think the Pacers have gotten even better since last season at being able to get teams cross-matched, being more intentional, and being able to attack mismatches. The other thing that the Pacers are, and I think this is such a great comment here from Ron Burgundy 79, the Pacers are extremely intentional about their floor spacing in a way that other teams aren't, frankly. The Celtics tend to be, but they just kind of ran out of juice and steam at the end of the day.
Detroit did this for one game and it really stood out, and they had a ton of success because they forced Brunson to guard a SAR in the dunker and a floor spacer on the weak side. And he got caught no man's consistently, but they were only able to consistently do it for one game.
And for the audio listeners, like the Pacers are going to try and force Brunson like into being the low help man, basically, is what I would imagine like a huge piece of it is going to be, especially given the fact that I would guess that they start Brunson probably on Nembhard would be my read.
That's what I thought.
Like it could be one of the two. Like it doesn't, it'll just be dependent.
Mikal on Holly, OG on Siakam, Cat on Turner, Hart on Naismith, Brunson on Nembhard. Syncs up a little bit better, but if you told me the other way, I could live with it also, I think. So
I honestly might, I mean, look, they'll cross match and do some different things like here and there, but like I might want Hart on Nembhard a little bit more often just because of how good Nembhard is at leading their break at times and like being able to be that second, transition playmaker out on the court. It'll be interesting to see how they go about it, but yeah, that is the pace is going to be key in terms of making sure they don't get cross matched. Additionally, the pace is going to be really important just in terms of the wear and tear in this series. The Pacers go deeper than the Knicks. The Knicks are going to play, basically their 7.5 guys, let's call it, right? Can those guys continue to thrive playing 40 to 42, 43 minutes a night, whatever it's going to have to be? And then Mitch comes in and plays his 20 and, Deuce will come in and play his 25, right? Like whatever you can get. Can their starters thrive throughout 7 games playing at the pace of the Pacers after 2 physical playoff, or really 1.5 physical playoff series, basically? When the Pacers have like had time off, had some time to rest, and have had less minutes, where like the wear and tear piece of it is interesting to me here.
Yeah. The other thing I wonder about is you're talking about like Mitchell Robinson stuff is how much can the Knicks go to the 2 big lineup that we've seen them go to in both of these series with Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson? Where are those minutes at? How do they look? What Pacers lineup do you feel the most comfortable trying it against? And really that's to dominate the board. So to your point, if you're going to go to the 2 big lineup, you got to be sending those guys to the offensive boards. And I think the hope there is you come down with the board and you score. The one thing I want to emphasize, Indiana will push pace right back at you off a made shot as well. You can't, and I'm glad you emphasized getting matched up in transition, because that was the thing New York did awful in game 5 was they would point, but they weren't really getting matched up. There was no sense of urgency to keep the matchups that they truly wanted in those situations. Here's one other thing from the Pacers side of things. You mentioned Nembhard, while a good defender, may not be a great Brunson defender. So let's say it's Naismith. What about when Naismith doesn't? Let's say Nembhard is like not having success, right? 2 games into it or so. Let's say we're going into game 3. Nembhard's not having success on Brunson. Who guards him then in the non-Naismith minutes? Or if Naismith gets in foul trouble, it's
going to have to be Nembhard, I think.
So what is there another name though? Like is, over at Setting the Pace, they threw out like maybe Ben Shepherd gets 10 minutes and he gets a shot at it. They threw out like,
no.
Do you try Benedict Mathurin on him because if he's better somewhere defensively, it's on the ball. Do you try Pascal on him?
Oh,
this is why it's an interesting question though, Sam, because again, if Andrew,
I think it's 48 minutes of either Nembhard or Naismith, and they stagger them and make sure, 42 minutes, however many Brunson plays. Yeah. When Brunson's off the court, you can maybe have one of those 2 guys off the court.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of those 2. I did not like the way that Shepherd dealt with physicality, particularly. I think Ben is like a really willing, aggressive, like defender in terms of like he cares. He does try to get into guys' space. Like he he is willing to play that way, I think I would like almost trust McConnell to deal with the physicality more than like, honestly, like I might try and put TJ on, like if I had to, and one of Nembhard or Naismith wasn't on the court, I might try and like have McConnell full court press Brunson for like 3 or 4 minutes and just try and like wear him down a little bit more than anything.
Just be a pest and try to deny him the ball and get one dig turnover, maybe take a charge on a push off, something like that. Yeah. I think it's interesting. Now, if Nembhard is doing okay, this isn't as big of a deal because I think it's easy to find the minutes between the two of them. I'm already like in, break glass in case of emergency conversation here, but it's like,
for Brunson right now, here's the thing, like, and this is kind of why I lean the on court makes me lean Knicks here. It's the way that the Pacers push tempo and like, I think might be able to wear them down a little bit that is making me wonder about this, like in terms of the series. I do think though, man, it's hard. It's really hard. I do think I like the Knicks here a little bit more is where I'm at. It's hard. It's really hard.
So the other day on the Pistons Pulse, we actually had somebody ask us our finals prediction and I said Thunder and Knicks and I almost changed it. I'm going to stay Knicks because that was the first thing I said. And I think I started to hesitate after their Game 5 performance. And I think that was just a huge letdown. The other team's star, first team All-NBA player was out. They were on the road. And I think it was just a letdown. Tonight makes me feel a little bit better because they showed up tonight and really responded. But I won't be surprised because I think this Pacers team is really, really good. And they've had an impressive playoff run so far. And I also think Rick Carlisle is a really good coach that makes smart adjustments and pushes the right buttons and makes the right decisions strategically. And so I'm going to stay with Knicks because that was my initial thought. But anybody who goes Pacers, even as much as Pacers in 6 or something like that, I would understand the confidence in that.
Like I don't know. This is really tight. Like I genuinely am not sure. Part of this is that like, I actually think that Brunson is not a like schemable player right now. Like I genuinely believe that. Now, like the Pacers do have guys that like can just try to wear on him. You know what I mean? Like if I was them, I would have Nembhard guarding him full court a decent amount of the time. Like when I don't have Naismith on him, I'd have Nembhard like trying to pester him full court. I would have, TJ McConnell, if he has to come in for 4 minutes at a time, 3 minutes at a time, and just pester him full court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the wear and tear piece of what the Pacers can do to you is such a big deal to me. It really is. They are miserable to try to guard. They're miserable to try to like defend and to deal with in a series right now. They are so smart and strategic about the way that they are pinpoint in their matchups. Man, I'm like almost like pushing myself back to the Pacers side a little bit.
Sure.
I am seriously 50-50 on this. Like I could not be more 50-50 on this series right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like whenever the time comes to have the conversation on the other side, I feel pretty good about where I'm going to go with that. This one I struggle with because I instantly think Knicks. And then kind of like what you're doing to yourself right now, I start talking myself into like, well, why? Why is it not the Pacers? I think Tyrese is playing at a very high level. I think Pascal's playing at a good level. I thought Miles Turner was awesome in a lot of those Cavs games. Nesmith, Nembhard hits big shots. Like they have these guys off the bench, Carlisle, and it's like the pace and the tempo and they control it. And it's like, well, if I believe all of these things about them, why am I not picking them? And I just continue to default back to, and I think Brunson's probably a big key of that. If Brunson's not the best player in the series, like if Tyrese outplays him, the Pacers are going to win the series. But if Jalen Brunson, like I think going into it, Jalen Brunson is the best player in the series. And I expect him to be that, I guess, is where I land.
I think this is kind of an amazing point to close on from Antoine.
Interesting.
Is the Eastern Conference Finals also a battle for the best point guard in the East? Or do you think there's another point guard that could end up being the best in the East? Look, I mean, I think whoever wins the series does get the supremacy. Look, Brunson's been better in the playoffs than what Halliburton has been. I think Brunson has a case to have been the best player in the playoffs so far, other than Jokic, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like I might hear out a case like above and beyond. But this is the series where you prove it, right? And if the Pacers win, you know, I don't think either of these guys can point to we don't have enough firepower. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they're both healthy going into the series, at least, right? Like there's none of that, totally. At least as we record right now on Friday, May 16th. I mean, I was just looking at my all NBA votes, and I mean, Brunson was 7th or what? I mean, he was second team all NBA for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Cade Cunningham above him, but I also had Donovan Mitchell above him at time in terms of that. But Tyrese ended up third team, I think, for both of us. So, I mean, I think those are the names you're looking at whenever you talk playoffs. I mean, I think Brunson definitely has that, but Tyrese goes in and knocks him off and outplays. And this, like I said, this will be a lot of fun to see from Tyrese, because I had complaints throughout the season of like, go be the dude, like go be the, like you should be taking these threes. You should be breaking down the defense. Like stop just passing in some of these situations. And that second quarter of whichever game it was like, oh my gosh, like this is sick. Yeah. And I always want to shout this out. He has been better defensively this year than other years, like just in terms of activity, length, recovery, disruption, all of those type of things. He has been much better in regards to that. And this is the ultimate chance. Like, I hope he carries the chip on his shoulder of most overrated player in the NBA. Like, I love when players take that stuff and use it as motivation. Like, continue to go out and shut everybody up. Like, that's what sports are all about. Like, that's what competing is all about. So I hope he goes and balls out and we have a great 7-game series.
Yeah. I think he's going to have to do a lot defensively in this series.
Sure.
Like that is honestly like a big factor for me here. He's going to have to be like actually quite solid defensively in this series. That's kind of where I'm at.